All right, so if you spent any time in the world of CAD, you know all about the history tree. It's the step-by-step recipe that builds your model. But what happens when that recipe becomes more of a cage? Well, that's what we're talking about today. We're going to dive deep into NX Synchronous Technology, a totally different way of thinking that promises to, well, break you out of that cage.
So here's the game plan. First, we'll talk about the big problem with that traditional history-based design. Then we'll get into what synchronous technology actually is and check out some of its core tools. After that, we're going to stack it up against the competition, walk through a real-world example, and wrap it all up by talking about the new design philosophy it really unlocks.
Okay, so let's set the stage here. For, decades, parametric modeling has been all about this one thing, parent-child relationships. That super strict step-by-step order of features. And look, it's powerful for sure, but that rigidity, man, it can cause some serious headaches.
And that really brings us to the big question, right? The one that every single designer has probably asked themselves at some point. Like, when you have to make a late-stage design change and you're digging through this crazy complex feature tree, or worse, you get a model from another CAD system and it has no history at all, is that tree really helping you, or is it just getting in the way?
This really breaks down the two worlds of CAD perfectly. Over on one side, you've got your traditional parametric modeling. It is literally chained to that feature history, and because of that, it really struggles with imported or what we call dumb geometry. This means design changes can be this slow, painful process of rolling back the tree, making a change, and praying nothing breaks. But then you look at the other side, synchronous modeling. It's all about freedom, no history dependence. You can work on literally any piece of geometry, which means you can iterate and make changes at the speed you can actually think.
Okay, so what is this magic technology that promises to fix all these issues? Let's break it down and get a really clear definition. Now, the keyword here, the one you really need to remember, is hybrid. See, synchronous technology isn't just about, throwing the history tree out the window. It's about giving you that awesome freedom of direct editing, that push and pull style, while also being smart enough to understand and keep your design intent. Think about things like geometric relationships. It preserves all that, but without the super rigid rules of a feature list. And this hybrid approach leads to some incredible strengths. You can actually modify any part of a model, any part at all, without that dreaded, painful rollback. It treats imported geometry like it was born and raised right there in NX, which is a huge deal in today's world where you're constantly getting files from partners and suppliers. The feedback is instant and, this is the best part, it's intelligent. It just knows that a hole should probably stay centered or a face should stay tangent, even if there's no formal feature in a tree telling it to do so. All right, so we've covered the what and the why. Now let's get our hands dirty and talk about the how. We're going to look at the actual tools that make synchronous technology such a powerhouse in your day-to-day work. First up is probably one of the most fundamental tools in the whole kit, Move Face. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like, but believe me, the implications are absolutely huge. With Move Face, it's as simple as this. You select a face or a whole group of faces, and you just push or pull it. The magic is that all the surrounding geometry updates intelligently to keep it a solid body. The real win here is just raw speed. Think about it. A mounting boss is, say, 2 millimeters too short. The old way? You'd have to go hunt down the original extrude feature in the tree. The new way? You just click the face, pull it up 2 millimeters, and you're done. It is literally that simple. Okay, next up in the toolkit is another command that sounds simple but is ridiculously powerful. Delete face. This tool is an absolute lifesaver, especially when you're getting a model ready for manufacturing or for some CAE analysis. You can just grab holes, fillets, chamfers. You can grab entire features and just hit delete. And then NX just automatically heals the surface where that feature used to be. The payoff here is massive. For cleaning up imported models, this can save an analysis engineer hours, heck, sometimes even days of just tedious prep work. All right, for our third example, let's look at a tool that's built for even more complex changes, Replace Face. So, Replace Face lets you completely swap out the geometry of one face with a totally new surface. I want you to imagine trying to match a complex, curvy surface from a new industrial design concept. Traditionally, that is a total nightmare of surfacing commands and feature rebuilds. With this tool, it's one single powerful command. It handles all that complex trimming and stitching behind the scenes for you. It's a game changer. Okay, so this toolkit is obviously super powerful, but I know what you might be thinking. Hey, don't other CAD systems have direct editing tools too?
And the answer is, yeah, they do. But it's the approach that matters. Let's take a look at how the core philosophies are actually really different. This table, right here, it tells a really interesting story. I want you to look at where NX Synchronous really shines, pure direct editing power, and how it handles imported geometry. These are the two things that have a massive impact on your speed and your flexibility every single day. Now, don't get me wrong, other platforms are really strong in traditional parametric control, for sure. But what NX offers is this unique and really powerful balance. The main takeaway, NX is built from the ground up to be amazing at those real-world situations where history-free editing isn't just a nice-to-have, it's absolutely critical.
But honestly, those star ratings only tell part of the story. The real difference, the why, is baked right into the philosophy. With NX, true history-free editing is the core principle. It's the foundation. In a system like SolidWorks, a direct edit actually gets added as just another feature in the history tree, which kind of defeats the whole purpose sometimes, right? Creo treats direct modeling more like an optional add-on. It's not really part of the main workflow. And CATIA, well, it leans on its super heavy-duty parametric and surfacing tools to do similar tasks. These are just fundamentally different ways of thinking about the problem.
Okay, let's make this way more concrete. How does all this philosophy stuff actually change a common, everyday task for an engineer? This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the power of synchronous technology really, really shines. So imagine this. You get a step file from one of your suppliers, you bring it into NX, and bam! Even with zero history, you can start working on it right away. You use delete face to get rid of features that you don't need for your process. You can directly resize a chamfer to match your manufacturing specs. Then you use offset face to make sure you've got a consistent wall thickness. Every single one of those steps is direct, it's intuitive, and it saves you a ton of time. And in the business world, that translates directly to faster projects and lower costs. It's a huge win. So, okay, we've looked at the problem, we've checked out the tools, we've seen how it stacks up against the competition. So what's the big picture here? What is the new philosophy that synchronous technology is really bringing to the table? Okay, here are the key things I want you to walk away with. First, it's that totally unique blend of direct editing freedom and smart parametric control. Second, it is, and I think you could argue this pretty strongly, the best-in-class solution for that very real, everyday problem of working with imported files from other CAD systems. And finally, the philosophy itself is the real mind-bender. It stops you from just being an editor of a historical recipe, and instead it empowers you to be a direct sculptor of your design. Which really leaves us with one final thought I want you to chew on in your own work. You know, the history tree was originally created to be this powerful guide, right? To protect design intent and make sure everything was stable.